Okay, hello and welcome back. We are finishing up Gilded Shadows today with Reuben's route. I have been thinking about this a lot since last week. I really wanted to play it, but I was like, no. We started this on the stream, we're gonna finish it on the stream. And it's only 2 chapters, so there's not a lot left to get through. But I left it on a cliffhanger, but it's my own fault because I went ahead and played 3 chapters last week instead of 2 like I had been doing. Okay, so, last week we had a steamy little scene happen, and it faded to black because of the settings that I picked, because it is a stream. Once I'm done with streaming this week, then I will switch it to full Steam for the rest of my playthroughs that will be off stream. But I did go ahead and play that scene full Steam after I finished the stream. I did not even close the game. I just changed the setting after I ended the stream, and I went to that scene again and got this lovely CG. Hi, welcome back. We're almost done. I don't know what I'll do after this because this lovely CG, because I do want to play the demo for Changeling, which is the game that Steamberry Studios created before this one. But they also released a game that they were working on with a group of other developers, and I want to play that one too. So I don't know Do we want to play the demo first? Which, if it's anything like the demo for Gilded Shadows, it's going to take me 2 weeks to even finish because there'll be so much. What, Fairy? How is it? Did you enjoy it? Finished one of the routes for Fairy. Awesome. Yeah, so my thinking was go ahead, play the demo for Changeling next week and the week after next, if it's as long as the demo for this one. And then once I finish then I'll go ahead and play Fairy. And of course, I'm keeping up to date with When Stars Collide, which is their next game that they're already working on. It's good? Okay, I'm starting to see a pattern here with Steamberry. I'll also have to look into the other... is a demo for that When Stars Collide available? I didn't think it was. Oh, it does have a demo. Okay, yeah, I'll do the demo for When Stars Collide after Fairy. How's that sound? Yeah. You still need to play this demo for When Stars Collide. Well, maybe, well, I wouldn't suggest playing it together. That'd be odd. It's different when you're playing, something else. Anyway. Yeah, I just was clicking through and looking at the plates for the different love interests for When Stars Collide, and it looks like the art is just as good as this art. So exciting. But yeah, anyway, finishing up Reuben's chapter 13. If I really am not quitting. Oh, this takes me to Alice in Wonderland. I love it. There's a version of Wonderland that I really loved growing up. It's basically 2 movies in one. It covers all the events of Alice in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass all together. It's like split up into 2 separate movies. And the second movie, there's the whole idea of her becoming... She starts out as a pawn and becomes a queen, because that's what happens when pawns make it across the board, is they become a queen. And Alice is talking to herself about it, and one of the things she says, if I really am a queen. So, that's, yes, I like that. So this is kind of, I guess, referring to the fact that the main character really comes into her own as a queen rank Esper. I was very sore when I awoke. My mind was too fuzzy at first to recognize the smell of oil and dampness and mold. That's right, at the end of chapter 12, we were kidnapped. After we had our lovely, lovely night with Reuben, this happened to us. When I tried to sit up and a shaft of pain went shooting through me, the smells also hit. I curled over and gagged against the cold floor, less from the smell than the nausea. And that was when I realized I was lying on a floor at all, and the foggy memory of being attacked came back full force. I bolted upright, or would have if my hands weren't bound, and I realized I couldn't do much more than awkwardly struggle to an upright position. Are you okay? I started, noticing I wasn't alone for the first time. There were 3 other individuals, also bound, huddled nearby. Oh boy, this is the 3 peeps. Oh. Were they? Uh-oh. This does not bode well, because they were in police custody, last I heard. You! How? What? What's happening? We don't know. I don't remember which one's Leon. They took us out of the facility early this morning and brought us here. You showed up later. They just dumped you and left. Who did? We don't know that either. We thought it was Endgame at first. They said so. They said we were being transferred to a pickup location. They had documentation, everything. We heard them talking to the night receptionist on our way out. She was either in on this or they completely fooled her. It has to be Domain, right? That's who was running the experiments you three were a part of, yeah? We think so. We don't know a lot of the details. They didn't exactly share information, and She shrugged and looked away. You can see the state I'm in. Digging into difficult systems is pretty hard. I can only go so deep before it gets to be too much. But yeah, we think it was Domain. More surprised you know about them, to be honest. Well, we've been working hard to get to the bottom of all this. Too hard if we're going on the fact they dragged you here, too. How the hell did they manage to grab a queen rank? Aren't you supposed to be some amazing Esper? Sneaked up on me and shoved an electroshock weapon in my ribs in the middle of the night. Yeah, imagine getting out to get some water and then out of nowhere get attacked. I'm almost afraid to get up and get some water at night now. Guess that'll do it, and now you're here with us. Psi suppressed and stuck. Congrats. Psi suppressed? The restraints, I guess. I didn't feel any different, though. Guess if you were unconscious the entire way here, you know less about the situation than we do. That's a given. Do you know where we are? Still in Erida, but I'm not sure exactly where. We think they're going to stage an escape attempt, make it look like we tried to get away and didn't make it out of the city. How is that going to work considering there's a record of a faux transfer? Based on what we overheard, it seems like they're going to frame Delphine for it, say that Delphine was involved in the experiments, not the Triad. They'll be blamed for the fake transfer, probably want it to look like Delphine promised us a chance of escape, so we'd go along with it, then eliminated us to clean up their mess before Endgame got involved. Delphine's always a convenient scapegoat, especially since we're here in Cyrna. Well, that part wasn't wrong anyway. They also mentioned some senator. I think they intend to throw her under the bus, too. Not sure what they're planning where she's concerned, though. I stared at the ground, turning it all over in my mind and doing my best not to not panic. Kids believe they're going to be killed. Suppose they'd be seen as too much of a liability to just rejoin whatever experiments were ongoing since they'd escaped once. Looks like Senator Wilson wasn't that high in the chain if she was now expendable, too. But then why am I here? I have half muttered the words to myself. I didn't say anything about you when they dumped you here. Could just be planning to grab you and cart you off somewhere. Wasn't that the whole story with you that was pasted all over the news a while ago? Lots of people looking for the new queen rank. And you got involved in this whole thing so they may think it's too problematic to leave you alone. Seems like they're waiting here for someone else, people they're working with. I don't know who or what. Transport out of the city, I heard them say it earlier. So it's possible they're going to transfer you to someone else's care before cleaning up here. Or they just decide I'm too much of a liability to not clean up as well. Or they want to drag me into all this so they could drag Reuben into it and tarnish their reputation by saying they sheltered someone who had ties with Delphine. Who even knew? Reuben. I hope he's okay. These people did something to him. Doesn't matter anyway, we can't do shit with our abilities suppressed. Whether they're going to kill us, move us somewhere else, or what, we can only wait for it. They flopped back, letting out a groan. I was hoping we'd at least get somewhere with good food for a while or something. This sucks. So, I'm not sure my abilities are actually being suppressed. I can still see their psi for one. It was faint and the structure was disorganized and strange, but wasn't my ability to see psi also psi? What do you mean by that? Because the inhibitor restraints on you are the same ones they put on us. I just don't think they're working. I shut my eyes and focused on the trace before mashing the button to turn them off. Glanced at Alicia, raising a brow. My psi was not being suppressed. You're an erratic? What is that? An F-class with highly adaptive psi. They were a constant concern back at the lab where we were being trained. The psi shifts around, so it's hard for normal psi inhibitors to get a proper read of it. It means that they're immune to normal psi suppression. They had to use special restraints on erratics. Guess these guys wouldn't have thought about something like that. Alicia released a shaking breath and straightened, a glimmer of hope on their face again. Okay, so let's just get out of here. I know you're injured, but you can still teleport, right? I can probably... No, I'm not going. What? We might be able to get information from these people about Gemini. We can't just leave and let them get away. Even if they don't know where Ashley is, they may know someone who does. That's a job for Endgame or Utpal, not... We don't have time to wait for them. We can see these people eliminate anyone who is high risk. They could scrap and wipe the entire project before we can find out where it's headquartered. Magnus had said that too. Can't miss this opportunity. You should get out of here. Just get the restraints off us and we'll handle it. No, I can't just leave you here like that. Well, your boss would probably be pissed if you just released us. I would be angry at myself for abandoning you. Boom! Could just teleport you all out against your will if I wanted, but, well, I've been relocated against my will before too, so I don't want to do that. I think I'd much rather let the three of you choose what you want to do, right or wrong. But that doesn't mean I'm going to just leave. Though, just so you know, I'm not really a super Esper or much of a fighter, so we should call for help. Our nanosystems have already been disabled for years, and I bet they scrambled yours so you can't call out. Yeah, I'm not able to access anything. In any case, we need to figure out where we are first. I can expand my sphere and get a look around. Wait, there may be slide detectors here as a precaution. They won't read something small like you disabling those restraints, but something like a sphere expansion will trigger them. Look, if you remove my restraints, I can check where we are by going into the nanosystem and accessing things like security footage. You said your system is disabled. There are nanites all around us in the air that I can use to get in. Besides, it's not like we don't have internal nanites at all. They just don't connect properly to the net. It's too difficult for me to manage wide-scale permanent reprogramming. Anyway, the slide detector shouldn't be able to detect something on such a small scale, so it's safer this way. Alright. I focused on her restraints and disconnected them with the same ease that I turned mine off. If they're doing a localized system scramble, doesn't that mean the airborne nanites will be affected as well? Scramblers don't impact every single nanite, just enough to disrupt their internal communication and make it impossible to utilize the system normally. All I have to do is establish connections between the few unaffected nanites. It's tricky, but I can manage. Don't overdo it, Riles. We don't have a choice right now. I've established a connection, trying to identify our location. Can you send out a broadcast of some kind? Something that will catch the attention of Magnus Ulrich? He's been paying attention to this case, and he knows your activity in the nanosystem as well as mine. Actively calling out to him might catch his attention. I'll try it. Oh shit, Riles, someone's coming. I had been so focused on Riley that I didn't even hear the voices until Leon said something. Scrambled back around, and my first instinct was to pretend I was helpless and suppressed so they wouldn't suspect anything, but something inside me just said no. Riley, keep doing what you're doing. Then I was slow breath and stood, ripping the restraints off my arms entirely as the group of Espers came into the room. A larger group than I thought. 2 infantry, a rook, a bishop, and a knight. Oh boy, that means business. There might be others in the building. I wasn't sure. They stopped when they saw me. I probably did not look intimidating in a thin top and 2 big pajama pants, but nothing I could do about that. I yanked the door behind them down to the floor, preventing anyone else from joining us, but also effectively locking us in with them. Wasn't sure they quite knew how to react because there was a brief space where they just froze. Then one of the infantry yanked a sonic weapon out of his jacket and aimed at me. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Eep, eep. I saw the weapon point at me, my mind blanked, and I panicked. Survival instinct took over. I flung my hands out, sending a wall of psi energy straight at the group, slamming them into the door with a resounding metallic thud. Then I wrapped my psi around them and slammed every one of them face first into the floor. I ripped the weapon away from the infantry, and using my sphere to identify several other hidden weapons, I also tore those away and flung them across the room. I stood there panting and staring at the pile of humans on the ground. One groaned. The instant I saw him shift and try to sit up, I let out a yelp and picked them all up, slamming them back into the wall twice. Oh, this is fun. And then onto the ground again. At some point, I think I realized I was doing the equivalent of that thing where you stomp on spiders several times to make sure it stays dead, except I didn't actually want to kill anyone. I retracted my psi, body tense in case anyone tried to get up again. There were some groans, but not a lot of movement, so they were alive anyway. I realized that behind me the trio was very quiet. I glanced back to 3 sets of wide eyes. Wow, think they're going to be able to answer questions after that? I mean, they're not dead? That doesn't mean they're all right. I was trying to ignore the fact that I was pretty sure that somewhere in all that I felt some bones break. I've been too panicked to realize it at the time. In fairness, they did abduct 4 people and point a gun at us, so I think we should restrain them while they're unconscious. I hope they're unconscious after all that anyway. Yeah, fair. Disable and remove their restraints to let them handle that. There was one more of them than we had pairs of restraints, but Leon and Alicia elected to leave the Rook bound with normal restraints. Yeah, the Rooks, their abilities are more about enhancing them physically, so though maybe the Rook would be able to break normal restraints, but yes, they do deserve it. I will agree on that point. Even if he could break them, injured as he was the least threatening. When one of the infantry tried to fight back, they got a kick to the face that made me have to look away, and that was that. I was about to check for others in the building when there was a strange drop in temperature, a twist in space, and a group of mostly familiar people appeared out of thin air. Yes! Oh, Ari, Caleb, Reuben, yes! Oh, I recognize her. I forget her name, but I remember her from when I started Ari's route. Reuben! He half collapsed as soon as solid ground was under him, but an unfamiliar woman in a black and white uniform kept him upright. I rushed to his side, helping lower him to the floor. Are you okay? Are you? We're all fine. I was about to search for others in the building, and one of our backup teams is chasing down a few people who appear to have fled the premises. Ari didn't see anyone else in the building. You can't play the game again, you know, if you miss him that much. Is it just me or does Reuben's hair look a little messy? Also, what the hell actually happened here? I glanced towards the injured and now restrained Espers, only to see Leon, Riley, and Alicia, all 3 pointing out me. Hilarious. What did you do? He's smiling! Caleb's smiling! What? He never smiled! If you do the Endgame route and you have to pick your route there at the end, he's the grumpy one. He's the grumpy kidnapper. I panicked. I think it's technically called kicking the shit out of someone. While screaming. I didn't scream. She definitely screamed. It's just, Caleb was so grumpy, he never smiled before. But I suppose if you romance Caleb, he does smile in that. There was some screaming, I agree. You know what? Whatever. Can you please tell us what's going on? I've informed the medical unit we will be needing their services since no one else seemed inclined to do so. Thanks. Anyway, you 4 seem okay, I guess, so that's good. Looks like Domain tried to clean up their little mess and underestimated what they were up against. They bit off more than they could chew when they grabbed a queen rank. Were they intending to clean me up too? We weren't sure, but we think this was a last-ditch effort to cover up the situation. They may have just considered you a freebie. I'm sure these idiots can fill in the details. Once they're conscious again, of course. I imagine that since they didn't realize Endgame has been involved in this case for a while, Domain thought they still had time to do damage control. They staged a transfer of these 3, and yeah, the others filled me in on that. They suspect the plan was to push the blame on Delphine. Seems about right. The Triad loves doing that shit. How exactly did you end up here? I woke up to a noise, and I got up for some water, and someone was in the flat. There was an electroshock weapon involved. I had the worst headache, by the way. That why you decided to break some arms? No, it was the whole armed abduction thing, actually. Fortunately, you had your wits about you. Sure, let's go with that. Listen, it seems like they were waiting on a transport out of the city, so if that's not who your standby team is chasing, you may want to keep an eye out for that. That appears to be who they are chasing. In any case, Magnus has the entire area under surveillance since Ari, Van, and I mobilized. Van, that's right. I know it's short for something. I think Vanessa? Seems like he heard someone send out some sort of message in the nano system. I shot Riley a smile. I guess that had worked. I also got your message. That's how Utpal got involved. I'm just impressed these idiots underestimated you so badly that they couldn't conceive of an ending where Queen Rank beat the shit out of all of them. Vanessa, yes. In fairness, I wouldn't have conceived of that either. Van, we're going to leave you here for a few minutes. Medical unit is asking for assistance. Ari? Of course. And the two of them were gone in an instant, leaving our group with Van, who was poking at one of the unconscious infantry. Winter, yes, we're inside. Situation's contained. Endgame is sending a medical unit. There are injured. No, not Dahlia, nor the other three. He nodded to me and stepped away as he continued to talk. Well, so you're the little queen those two tried to bring home a few weeks ago. I'm sure I'd get the chance to meet you with how things are going. I've heard a lot about you three, too. Looks like you've all been through a time of it. Riley looked away and didn't answer her. It occurred to me that the three of them could have tried to run, but we're still here. Van gave Riley a sad smile as she set a hand on her shoulder. We might be a little late this time, but we're going to get all this wrapped up soon, I promise. I was surprised she was being so careful with them, smiling, reassuring them. They were tense, of course, but despite not seeming entirely trusting of her, there's also relief. That hadn't gone as smoothly as planned, but I suppose the outcome wasn't as terrible as it could have been. Yeah, could have ended with them dead. Excellent work, everyone. And there's Magnus. Oh, I forget how I did his voice. Oh no. Excellent work, everyone. What the? I hadn't realized Ari was back, with several other people. What are you doing here? I watched as a small group of agents in white and blue coats shot past us into the group of restrained espers on the ground. He recalled me during the medical pickup and asked me to transport him here for a follow-up. I made a detour. And Mara let you? I did not ask her permission. Hey, do you know how much ranting I'm going to have to listen to tonight? Do you care what you're putting your teammate through? From having started already, I know Mara is Van's wife. Yes. And what have we told you about listening to Magnus? Anyway, you should know better. Also, you're going to feel terrible tomorrow if you keep hopping all over the damn globe like this. It's hardly the first time I've brought Magnus here. Okay, sure, there was one other... It was twice. What? It was twice. You were unaware the second time. Hurry! You should know better than that! Anyway, thank you for the entertainment, but we do still have some work to do here. I felt my headache getting worse. Was this really what Endgame was like? How exciting! I didn't expect to meet again this way, Dahlia. We've retrieved our 3 wayward children and picked up a few individuals I'm very much looking forward to questioning. How lovely! It didn't quite go as planned, but then these things never do. Magnus smiled as he joined Van where she was talking to Leon and the others. Now you 3, I've heard a great deal about. I've been keen to meet you, especially you. Riley, was it? His eyes lingered on her silver hair and eyes, the smile fading. You've had a difficult time, haven't you? Are you really Magnus Ulrich? In the flesh, even. It's not as impressive as it sounds. The facility we were... Now, we will have time to go through all of that. We already have people on it, and as soon as you give us a few details, we can mobilize right away. I understand there's someone you are trying to find. Despite what you may believe, we can be quite reliable in situations like this. Van, will you make sure we get their information to the Morai right away? Lete is waiting to hear from you. Alright, come on. Ari? Wait, what's going to happen to them now? We don't care about that, we just want... Of course you should care about it. People not caring what happened to you is why you all ended up here. Never let anyone tell you that you shouldn't care about your own fate, so long as the situational outcome is what you want. There are those of us who live like that, but the 3 of you are far too young for such a bleak outlook on life. What happens to you matters. Do not forget that. Ever. They looked as surprised as I was by those words. He nodded to Van, and she and Ari led Leon and the others away. I watched for a moment until they all vanished. Reuben moved closer to me, and though his arm didn't go quite around me, I was still grateful for the warmth of his hand against my back. Congratulations, Dahlia. Looks like it's finally over. We'll get your trio back to Corsolaris for now, but I assure you they'll be fine. And as for the others, he glanced at where the medical team was working on the people I'd kicked the shit out of. We'll be taking them to Corsolaris as well. I expect it's time we give the perpetrators of all this a good slap on the wrist. They've been exceptionally naughty of late, haven't they? Was actually going to happen to those kids? I don't want to see them in the field as agents in the future, Ulrich. No, I believe those three have done more than their share of fighting. But I do have a plan. After all, you have a friend who might be more than happy to find a place for them in a quiet dome where they can be able to live in peace. With a little supervision, of course. And after we locate their friend, she will join them. It would be nice if we could restore some of what they've lost, but they will be unable to go back to how things were. It's always like that for people like us. Isn't that right, Dahlia? Yes, it is. And Arya was back. I sensed him pop back in right behind us. I'll be in touch with you, Dahlia. I suppose your role in exposing the magnitude of this case may not earn you friends in other high places, but it will earn you enough public recognition. I don't imagine the Council will be able to push the issue of you joining Endgame. Without your involvement, the case would never have got to this point. It has not only revealed a devastating public secret, but also the suffering of many Espers and how they're treated, used. If the Council is smart, they will stand down lest their own sins be brought to light. After all this, that would be absolutely devastating for Endgame, of course. And now, I believe I've held up our illustrious guard long enough. Our retrieval unit has arrived. Ari? Of course. Vanessa assured me they would ride back with the retrieval unit. Looking out for you as always, I see. How kind. Magnus nodded to us, and the two of them were gone as well. With them gone, and the other unit still fussing over the captured Espers, Reuben decided it was now okay to pull me into a trembling hug. I sank into him, biting my lip hard to keep from losing it. Do you know how scared I was when I woke up and realized you were gone? I can imagine. My voice was hoarse as I tried to speak around the growing lump. Reuben pulled away and gave me a long, serious look. Are you sure you're okay? I'm okay. It's a lot to take in, but I'm okay. A message popped up and I realized that my nanosystem was back online. I pulled away from Reuben, frowning. What is it? A message from that woman, Vanessa, just a goodbye note from Riley and the others, and a thank you. They probably have some rough times ahead, but I think they'll be okay. Surprisingly, I think they will too. Please tell me it's really over this time. Not quite. We do have more reports to write. Damn it. All I wanted was a glass of water, and now I have more reports to write after beating people up. That isn't fair. Well, you might not have to do it right away. At the very least, we need to get you checked out. You look... Hey, you two! And now another familiar face was raced into the room and straight for us. Here we go. Slipped my arm around his waist, looking at the light creeping into the fading artificial night outside. Yay, winter! He missed all the fun. When's winter out, please? Thank you. After this, I think we deserve a break. A proper one. Most definitely. Winter reached us, his face somehow torn between worry and anger as we filled him in on everything that happened. To be fair, this was not Dahlia's fault in the slightest. She did not ask to be kidnapped. But it did help to solve the case, basically. Hopefully soon I would get the chance to spend one whole day in bed. It's just a pity Reuben's place didn't have a bathtub or a bubble bath. Would have been in order too. I hope that this case was finally closed, or at least my part was, and Riley and Leon and Alicia too. I hoped we would all have a chance to move on now. A golden afternoon. That's definitely an Alice in Wonderland reference. There's even a song in the yes, Winter Out When? There's a song in the animated Disney version called Golden Afternoon. And it's when Alice is singing with the flowers, and the flowers realize that Alice isn't a flower after all. Alright, just send me the information and I'll have a look. Sure, talk to you soon. I looked up from where I was at the bar as Reuben came out of his office and joined me, having just finished with another call. Finally done for the day? Okay. Gotta keep track of things, otherwise I'll forget. I'm supposed to be on leave. Duty calls, I suppose. sometimes early if the number of people I've had to deal with today is an indication. Everything okay? Just the usual. The media is having a field day with a public statement by Endgame, and my name keeps getting dragged in, of course. Yours too. You're just not accessible since they still don't know where you actually are, which is something else they keep asking me, as if I'm going to just drop your info to them. But, of course, now that we're connecting the dots between multiple other past cases, I'm sounding the expert on all these dark projects. Well, you kind of are the expert. You've been researching this stuff for years. I know. The media response to the case was immense as more information trickled out, and Phil ended up letting Reuben's name slip when he said they did have an agent who had been digging into these things for a while. Whoopsie. He neglected to mention that it wasn't in a professional capacity, but that hadn't stopped people badgering Reuben for information. Someone had leaked the word Aaron saw and the fact that Reuben had been affected by it, so there was a lot of interest around that as well, of course. I was sure it was tiring, though. Wrapped my arms around his waist as Reuben leaned back against the bar, draping his arms around me as well. The media storm will calm down, eventually. Not for a while yet, I don't think. Not this time. Senator Wilson's resignation has caused a lot more speculation. Of course, now that the trio announced they're opening a criminal investigation of her activities and what she's been doing with Domain, a supposedly peaceful group dedicated to protecting triad citizens. Please, they were already planning to throw her under the bus the day they abducted me. If she's expendable, you know there's someone above her controlling things. Well, it'll be up to Endgame to uncover all that. This is the one time I'm grateful it's out of my hands. I still have to wonder if Wilson's ties to Delphine are fabricated, or if the trio knew all along and allowed it so they'd have dirt on her. Who knows? It's a pretty convenient failsafe if they're real, though. Letting her do what she wanted, then using the truth to feign ignorance seems like something they'd do. And if that's what Magnus uncovers, I have doubts it'll ever go public. No good will come from destabilizing the triad to that degree. Yeah. But if the end result is that the experiments are shut down, I guess that's all we can ask for. That, at least, is something we can be sure of now that they've already located and raided the Gemini facility. I'm sure Endgame will keep releasing more information in perfect time with every one of the triad's attempts to deflect, just to keep them in line. Sounds like something they would do. Magnus does seem like he'd be terrifying to deal with once he has a hold of one of your weaknesses. Maybe. He's surprisingly decent? Well, I don't know. He's good at putting on masks when needed, but I wasn't expecting him to be so sympathetic to Leon and the others. Me either. He has been quite protective, hasn't he? Though he's also good at taking opportunities that present themselves, using this case to highlight the plight of Espers and publicize some of his new policy ideas. I never thought he'd be so eager to weaken Endgame's hold on Espers, but it's certainly gone in an interesting direction, hasn't it? I guess he's been waiting for a catalyst like this for a while. Reuben finally extricated himself from me and slipped into the kitchen for a cup of coffee. I smiled as I leaned on the bar and watched him. You know, there was a report this morning about the number of Espers that go missing each year, numbers that could be higher than we realized due to unregistered Espers not being counted. Of course, someone managed to find information on Riley and the others and linked it to the press. All three of them were just statistics until now. 3 missing kids. Knowing what they went through makes the whole thing more horrifying. How many of the other statistics faced the same fate but didn't come out the other side? It's sobering that I could have been one of them too. This is another part of the story, isn't it? The fact that you were saved from that fate, then turned around to help reveal this situation. The perfect ending, yeah? Tied my story up in a neat little bow and made it perfect for mass consumption. Magnus did a great job of presenting me as a reluctant hero, didn't he? That was the goal, after all. You don't seem happy about it, though. Doesn't undo years of injustice. It's hard not to not be frustrated by that. That's fair. I know. Believe me, I know. Took a deep breath and straightened, not wanting to focus on negative thoughts. Did you talk to Quill today? A little. He's been busy, as you can imagine. With Nisa being revealed to the public, he's had a lot to deal with, even though it has surprisingly had less attention than they expected. Well, I suppose the trio being caught in a crime against humanity has somewhat taken precedence over a dome of biosynths and Espers. Especially with everyone currently sympathizing with Espers, the idea of them finding a safe place to live isn't something anyone is brave enough to be outraged about right now. Magnus had been managing that story as well, painting the picture of an accidental discovery that Nisa tried to lock down only to have it stolen by a more powerful faction, then used to hurt people. Nisa came out of this whole thing looking a victim as well, especially since they were cooperating with the investigations. It didn't hurt that some of their other research turned out to be pretty interesting, to say the least. Aerosol wasn't the only thing they'd discovered. And aside from the more dramatic news stories, there had been a lot of buzz in scientific and technology communities over some of that. Very little drama could withstand the enthusiasm of scientists and scholars. That's true. I mean, I'm interested in some of it as well. Anyway, he's also been preparing for the arrival of their 4 latest refugees. He said that he'd been personally handling their case. I'm glad Magnus really arranged for them to go there. Since he didn't want Riley and the others to join Endgame, Nisa was the best opportunity. A place they could settle, find some stability, and just live. It was funny that the person to make me think maybe Endgame wasn't all that bad after all was Magnus Ulrich, of all people. Hey, you okay? Of course, there's just a lot going on. I was just thinking that I'm glad Riley and the others will be okay. I'm glad I will, even if I imagine there's a lot of work ahead. There undoubtedly is. It's not too bad. At least it doesn't feel like doom hanging over my head anymore. That part is definitely a relief. Now that Magnus has said you won't be made to join Endgame and that you've already completed the required training and registration, glad you have the time and space to think about what you want to do next. I'm still a little surprised you didn't take the opportunity to move into your own place. Now why would I do that? I reached across the bar and laced my fingers through his, smirking at the soft little smile on his face. Well, I didn't see a reason to unless you wanted your place to yourself again. I paused and looked up at him with a slight frown. Do you want your place to yourself again? Exactly, sir. I'm staying with you. Exactly. No, definitely not. He came around the bar and pulled me to him, wrapping me into a tight embrace. I am absolutely not saying that. Good, because if I leave, who will make sure you sleep properly and take breaks? Who will help you with your Esper training, Mr. Infantry level Esper? I wondered if the effects on his Esper level would be permanent. I laughed at his annoyance at that. Now that it had been verified, he had to go through the usual process like everyone else, and he wasn't happy about it. But unlike some of us, he wasn't inclined to ignore regulations and policy. I suppose you also need someone to remind you to take breaks when you start up classes again, though. Exactly. If I started classes again. I wasn't sure if I intended to do that or arrange with my university in New Albion to stop my education with my current certifications and levels. Not that I didn't like the idea of continuing to study, but it wasn't really necessary anymore. Not with some of the new opportunities I had. Quill had put me in touch with the Nisa Research Institute, and they'd extended an offer for me to work there. It was an amazing opportunity. I always thought I'd have to go to Dion to study any of the truly interesting archaeological sites, but now I had the chance to join studies on places in the wastes. The wastes! Never in my wildest dreams did I imagine being able to see that area personally. They were working on some fascinating things, and how could I turn down an opportunity half the researchers in my field would give up their left arm to see? And while it wasn't my reason for being interested in the Nisian research, there were some distinct benefits to working closer to home. I smiled against Reuben's chest. It had only come up once so far, but Quill had even suggested that they needed people like Reuben and Nisa. They were still getting things organized in their city, and Quill seemed like the sort to always pinpoint good people and try to get them on his side. Their city services were a mess now that the public recognition had happened before they were prepared. Quill wasn't the sort to make those kinds of comments idly, and I knew he wouldn't let Reuben dither or give vague answers. I had no idea if Reuben was considering it, but I doubted he'd turn it down without giving it some careful consideration. And even if Reuben declined, traveling between Nisa and Erida wasn't that big a deal. I didn't hate the idea of working closer to home now that I didn't have so many reasons to leave. What are you thinking about so hard? I looked up at him, draping my arms over his shoulders. Just everything. Quill, Nisa, my studies, you. Still thinking about Quill's suggestion that Nisa might be a good place for you to land? And his suggestion it might be the same for you. I hope you weren't thinking of changing your plans around based on what I may decide to do. Well, not entirely, but it's a factor. I don't want to hear complaints. It's normal to change your plans if there's something, or someone, worth changing them for. I let one of my hands slide up to lightly brush against his cheek. He closed his eyes and leaned into the touch. I'm glad you feel that way. I hate that I have to leave this weekend. that I'll be gone for so long. Duty calls now that you've been relieved of your babysitting responsibilities, and it's just 1 week, hopefully. I was never your babysitter. Well, I don't know about that, but I am a little glad Magnus has assigned a couple of their agents to hang around, knowing as it might be to be shadowed by some of their people. I trust he really is just looking out for me, and it frees you up from having to be glued to my side. Which of course means I had a case dumped in my lap the moment I was free. Don't worry about me too much. I'm looking forward to a few days alone to remind myself what it's like to be a responsible adult. I highly doubt you ever forgot. You know we only have 2 days left before you travel. We should make the most of it. I leaned up and placed a soft, playful kiss to his lips. Whatever I decide, wherever we end up, that's all for later. If you're finished with work, maybe we can just relax for a little while? And Reuben agreed. A little while later, we were curled up together on the sofa, my head resting on his shoulder. Are you really going to be all right here while I'm gone? I'll be fine. I did used to live by myself, you know, and I won't be alone the whole time since my parents are visiting anyway. Yay! I was worried about that. I was like, what about her family? She can see her family again now, right? A shame I'll miss them. I think it's better for everyone if their first visit is while you're not here. Better for you, most of all. Oh, are you, worried they may disapprove? No, I'm worried my mother will spend her entire visit finding ways to embarrass us both in the most horrifying ways possible. That's a mother's job, didn't you know that? So I'd like the opportunity to ask her to please not do that before she actually meets you in person. She sounds like my father. Can't wait for the day the two of them meet, and by that I mean I hope I'm in another dome when it happens. Looking forward to it, horrifying or not. I was just glad we were having the opportunity to look forward to any sort of future together. There's still a lot happening, and there's a lot that we would be dealing with going forward, but it seemed like things would only improve from here, and I was grateful for it. 2 days later, found us in Reuben's room while he finished the last-minute packing for his trip. He was sitting on the bed, and I was watching from the door. Do you always pack this light when you travel? If I can. I hate having to drag around luggage. But you still need enough clothing to actually wear for an entire week. He laughed a little as he folded another shirt and put it in a small bag, and then sat on the edge of the bed looking at his hands in a way that I knew he was mentally taking off a list of things to pack. Remember your toothbrush? I gave him a teasing smile as I wandered in and peered into his bag. Yes, thank you. The affection and exasperation in his voice made me smile. I put a knee beside him on the bed, moving closer to him as I leaned down to nuzzle the side of his neck, the soft grin still on my face. The aftershave I like? Ah. Well, it is the only one I own. It was my turn to laugh as I pressed a kiss to his throat. One of his arms snaked around my waist. It's been a while since I've had a reason to hate traveling. I used to enjoy getting out of this place, getting away from the silence. Now, I hate to leave it. But this time you can look forward to having something nice to come home to. I am most certainly going to be looking forward to coming home. Good. Pulled away momentarily to give him a teasing smirk as I lightly pushed his shoulders. He let himself fall back on the mattress, taking me with him. I'm supposed to be packing, I hope you realize. You said you were almost finished packing, and I want to spend as much time with you as possible before you go. I let my fingers slide down his cheek as I rested my head on his chest. Do you know how much I love you? To be honest, I'm still shocked you have feelings for me at all. I tilted my head up and nipped the side of his neck, causing him to jump. Propping myself up, I glared down at him. The smile on his face was serene and amused at my sudden ire, but, as usual, I knew that joke had a hint of truth to it. I seized his face and planted a fiery kiss to his lips, feeling him smile against the pressure of my mouth before he wrapped his arms around me. Pulling back again, I looked down at him a long time. Beautiful dark eyes, messy hair falling over his forehead as his grin deepened. I lowered myself for another kiss, hoping he realized how much I treasured every moment until this point, and every moment I wanted us to have going forward. He didn't protest, just let out a quiet, pleased sigh as I kissed below his jaw and down his throat. One of his hands found its way to the back of my head, and I thought he started to say something, but the words died the instant I slipped my fingertips under the hem of his shirt. I wouldn't see him for a week after today, maybe longer, so I wanted him to leave with this memory fresh in his mind. He struggled so much to believe me when I told him I loved him, that I wanted to be with him, that I wanted him. Love to see the MC mother embarrassing them both. Yes, and Reuben's father. That would be fun. Yes, I love Reuben so much. Tried to show him every day, every moment we shared, every laugh, smile, meal together, in these vulnerable, gentle moments, too. And later, as we lay together, with his face pressed to the back of my neck, still ignoring the remainder of his packing, he looped his arms around my waist and held me close. Life had taken a surprising turn, hadn't it? Not just for me, but Reuben as well. The ripple effects of my reaching out to him for safety that one time were still echoing through both our lives, and the lives of a surprising number of other people. Those of us who could were somehow groping our way back to happiness, or at least contentment, and dragging society with us, it seemed. In Reuben's case, I could only hope that maybe, through all this, he'd found something he'd been waiting for, and would eventually be confident wasn't going to evaporate under him. His arms tightened around me, and he mumbled something about finishing getting his things together for his trip. Now there's a lovely sight. So pretty. Yes. I shifted in his arms and planted a playful kiss to his lips. Or I could keep distracting you. I suppose I'm going to have to get used to you always distracting me. Yes. Yes. Well, I'm sure I'll cope somehow. Kiss me again, and I snuggled into his chest. Be careful what you say you can cope with. I may decide to test how far that really goes. The laugh that rumbled through me sent a pleasant tremor of fragile optimism through me. I could only hope that, going forward, every moment was as lovely as this one. It probably wouldn't be, but together I thought we'd come out on top of whatever else we faced. And that was all we could ask for, most likely. But whatever was ahead, I was looking forward to facing it now. I really was. Ah! So good. I actually, Hi, James. Yes, definitely hints to play other routes. I'm very curious to see if, it's a similar mystery or if it's completely different. Yeah, so, this was actually this route was not released when the game itself was released. It was added later. And then I think, another route was added after this one. So I'm assuming this last CG is when you have the steamy scene at the end there. I will definitely do that. I will probably be playing this, the other routes off stream, in between other streams. I'm hoping to stream on Wednesday. This past Wednesday didn't work out because stuff came up. Stuff comes up a lot in the middle of the week. Bad ending CG? Yeah, there is a bad ending. But I think I would have to work hard to get it. But yeah, it would definitely be interesting to play the bad endings. Like, I've done that for other games, like, When the Night Comes, there is sort of a bad ending. I did a completely, no romance route for that one, because it would have felt really horrible to do it while romancing one of the love interests, and I was like, no, I can't do that to them. And there is sort of a bad ending for Arcade Spirits. So I'm curious, do the CGs change when you change what your main character looks like, or do they persist for the main character you created for that route? To at least for Arcade Spirits? Yeah, I know there's Well, there's a route where basically you decide you're not gonna try, so then you don't even play the game at all. You don't even talk to Iris, and she doesn't set you on the path. And then I think there's another one where you agree to work for Dekonami. Which I'm like, why would you even do that? It's Dekonami. He's an asshole. But I still have a little time. I still have about an hour. So what I was thinking was actually, I know I did I do the Crimson route? I can't remember. Yeah, for the Lawson to be a completionist, absolutely. Yeah, I did the Crimson Interlude. So, let's actually, let's go, where was it? Here we go. Let's actually pick the Endgame Interlude and see what that looks like. Okay, so this is at the end of the common route, and the main character has seen a vision of Ari staring down at her. And so this is, what are you going to do? How are you going to react? And that's going to decide, help direct which routes you end up picking. So before, I had actually picked the route to warn Jack, and that led you to the Crimson Interlude. So now I'm going to wait there and say nothing, and this will actually start the Endgame Interlude. This was it. It was either trust Jack and go with him to the court, hoping he wasn't lying to me, or go with Arya and Caleb, who were part of a group who, whatever else was true about them, had protected this planet and everyone on it for centuries. Sorry, Jack. I couldn't go with him. I would just wait here for Arya and Caleb to catch up to us. Riding my chair, I sat down and let my head flop onto the table with a groan. I lay there long enough to drift off before Jack returned. Well, I'm glad to see you're still here. The sound of his voice dragged me back to the world of the waking. I made a grunt of acknowledgement, opening my eyes to stare sideways at the wall next to our table. A little twinge of guilt gnawed at me. You said I wouldn't be able to steal your car anyway. So you thought about trying it? Yes. I have to admit, I appreciate your honesty. I don't know where I would go. Anyway, I don't know how to get home from here, and I don't know what I'd do when I got there. Like you said, more people will come after me. Which just meant the life I'd known until now was gone, no matter what I chose to do. You okay? Yeah, just headache. Why don't we get you something to eat? And where the hell's the cop? His words cut off abruptly, causing me to look up. Sorry to keep you waiting. 2 cups slid onto the table, but my eyes went wide when I saw who was the one putting them there. That hadn't taken long. And don't believe everything this liar tells you. He was sporting a fresh cut along the side of his eye, a spider web of blue and green branching out, evidence of an expanded nanosystem busy regenerating the cells and healing the injury. But Caleb looked rather well for someone who'd had a building collapse onto his head. Oh, you worked for Deco with Ashley and the semi-secret route romance. I know who you mean. But Ashley left you and the other didn't. That actually makes sense. Oh, Ashley, my beloved. I love Ashley. They're so fun. Jack seemed rather unfazed by Caleb showing up. His baffling response to his development was to pick up his coffee and take a sip. There is a way to make your friend leave, but there's just specific options you have to pick, and I've only done that once. I felt so bad about it. I'm almost glad to see you're still kicking, Jack. Oh, I forgot Caleb smiled in this. I was just so surprised to see Caleb smile at the end of Reuben's route. been so long since you've been a pain in the ass. I thought maybe your boss got sick of you and tossed your body into the wastes. So, a friend of mine adopted a pit bull and named her PETA because she's a pain in the ass. Not a chance. He's not like your boss. He doesn't just abandon people to die. What the heck does that mean? I know that there's history going on here, and I am looking forward to finding out that history. Caleb's jaw clenched, but he said nothing. Instead, he shot a glare my way. I flinched. As for you, he reached for my wrist, and I instinctively tried to pull it away, even as he clamped some kind of device onto it. What the hell is this? Should have called your cat that? Yeah. I play World of Warcraft, and you can, if you're a hunter, you get battle pets that fight alongside you. And there was one that I tamed. It was such a pain to tame them that I named it PETA for that exact reason. Psi inhibitor. Looks like he doesn't want another building dropped on his head. Still gripping my wrist tightly, Caleb pulled me a little closer. I hoped you realized that stunt you pulled nearly got us killed. If I had been a second too late... Let go! I don't even know how I did that, much less did I do it on purpose. I'm not sure I believe you. If you don't want me to knock a building on you, then maybe don't kidnap me. I slammed my free hand into his shoulder. He scowled at me, but I was tired and scared, and the stupid man was on top of my list of people I was mad at. I'd already decided to go with them, even though I didn't like him. Why was he being such a jerk? He grabbed my arm, putting both wrists to the table in front of me. Will you be quiet? I struggled to free myself. Let me go! I was vaguely aware of Jack sort of laughing under his breath, and I shot him a glare, suddenly wanting to hit him, too. He attempted to not look amused. He failed. I glared at him, tears stinging my eyes, because everything hurt, and I was so tired of all this. Don't start that crying nonsense. Then don't kidnap me! The tears spilled over, and I wasn't sure if it was because he'd said not to, or if it was just because the energy had to go somewhere. Yeah, I've heard it said that tears are like a release valve. They just express emotion that are just overwhelming us. So it's not just, they're not just when you're upset, because there are happy tears. And it's actually been proven that the chemical composition of happy tears and sad tears are different. So I thought that was interesting. And since I couldn't strangle anyone, I was going to cry. Caleb, I may have warped the space around this table, but it would be better if you made some attempt to not create a disturbance. I let out a frantic squeak as Ari appeared out of thin air. I mean, I knew he could do that, but that didn't mean it prepared me for him popping in and out of nothingness. I'm not the one shouting. I knew you'd be lurking around somewhere, Six. That gave me pause, not because it was kind of a weird nickname, but also because it was a nickname at all. I got this feeling before, but do the three of you know each other? I'm afraid so, Butterfly. Ari looked down at me, taking in what I assumed was my rather woeful appearance. He shot Caleb a disparaging look. You made her cry. Don't give me that, and stop acting like you're not involved. I, at least, have done nothing but help her out today. If you hadn't been skulking around, we wouldn't have had to take such drastic measures in the first place. If I hadn't been skulking around, you wouldn't even have known about her. I shot him a poisoned look when he said that. So this is all your fault? You somehow neglected to tell me that earlier. If they had known about me because of him, did that mean everyone else had found me because of him? Hey now, I told you I'm just trying to help you. Too bad that's a lie. Oh, and the two of you are here out of the kindness of your hearts? I don't have time for this. She's coming with us, Jack, and you can go back to your boss or go to hell. Your pick. And if I have no intention of letting you take her, you really think you can do anything about it? Will you stop talking about me like I'm an object? I decide where I go and who I go there with. My voice rose to a shout, and the window next to me rattled in the pane, though I wasn't sure the others noticed. I apologize for breaking into this discussion, but word from the tower is that several others are closing in on this location. They believe at least one of them is from Nyx. Others are unknown affiliation. It may be the woman from before. Nyx? Just how many groups of psychos are after me right now? Far too many for you to be safe with anyone but us. Couldn't deny that seemed like it was the case. Well, looks like you made up your mind. I shot him an apologetic look. Ha ha, don't look at me like that, Butterfly. You have to do what's best for yourself. But unfortunately, so do I. What? The three of them all moved at the same time, and all I caught was a flurry of movement as Caleb tackled Jack and Ari yanked me out of my seat and towards him. A weapon went off and the back of my chair exploded. I crashed into Ari, who pulled me into an awkward, tangled semi-embrace. What had just happened? It took me a moment to realize Jack had been the one to fire a weapon at me. What? I mean, it makes sense. It's the whole, if I can't have you, nobody can. But I imagine that was just part of his orders. So mad. Yeah, no, I'm not going with y'all. Why do you think I picked Reuben? We're going. Yeah. I wasn't sure why I felt so betrayed, but I didn't have time to think about it. The world twisted and we left the fighting behind, staggering out into an alley that probably wasn't too far away. I staggered away from him, still not quite used to that. I apologize. I know you wish to choose who you align with. That isn't a choice we can afford to give you. You fool quick and drop a city on them. Yes. I'm sure with enough training she could probably do that. I already decided when I realized the two of you would find us. I instantly decided to go with Jack. Like I said, I'm gonna play them all. You may be kidnappers, but at least the two of you never tried to harm me. I do not believe Jack shot at you by choice. He was likely under orders too. Are you defending him? Aren't you people enemies? Things are not always as simple as enemies and allies. Yeah, well, say that again after he tries to shoot you. There was no way Jack believed he would hit you with Caleb and I standing right there. I don't get you people at all. I hate to interrupt the two of you, but we've been waiting an awful long time, and we'd like to just get this over with. Ari and I whirled around to find several people in suits just behind us, all with weapons drawn. How are they finding us? Endgame isn't the only one with competent bishops. Precognition. They must have seen someone with foresight ability. So they just knew where we'd be and when? How do you fight against something like that? It is a traveling ability. But like you indicated, Mr. Suit, Endgame has bishops of its own. Vanessa! This time it was a woman who stepped around the corner behind the suits. Love the Endgame love interest and side characters, but no matter what, I will always choose Court over Endgame. Well, we'll see what I pick after I played through all the routes, but there's a reason I picked Reuben first out of all of them. She had a smirk on her face and was wearing a white and black uniform. One man kept his gun on us, while two others trained their weapons on her. Vanessa, your timing is impeccable as usual. Interesting. I forgot about that. I tried. So, what are you lads going to do? If you stay and fight, I assure you that you'll lose. But I'm feeling pretty generous, so if you run, we won't stop you. I picked my fights wisely. If your bishop wasn't aware ours would be here, you may wish to consider that we're more prepared for this standoff than you are. For instance, the snipers. That set up a mild panic among the suits as one craned his neck, trying to spot where anyone else might be hiding. The one man just stared at us, looking like he might try to stand his ground. But a split second later, there was a painful flash, and they were gone. They ran away. Is that not what you wanted? Well, it is, sort of. White and black uniforms suitable, they are not. Yeah, who picks white and black uniforms? They stand out so much. She came towards the two of us, looking us up and down. Anyway, you two look terrible. It's been a long day. For you, not over. Get back to Caleb and get him out of here. We'll get this one back to the tower. Wait, that was Ari who said that. Okay. Jack? Leave him. Merlin's orders. And Ari, at this point everyone knows we have the queen. No need for secrecy. I understand. His eyes! He's about to use his powers. Merlin? Ari vanished, leaving me with the woman he called Vanessa. He's the boss, and you look like you're about to pass out. I swayed just as she said it, but she sat alongside me to offer support. So these people really were from Endgame. Is it over? I felt like every ounce of energy was just flowing away from me. I don't know if it was because it felt like I would finally be safe, or if she was doing something to me. Well, it might be more accurate to say everything is just getting started. But you just get some sleep for now, and when you wake up, I promise things will be better than this. And with that, everything went black. Endgame Interlude. I was aware of voices before I fully awakened. Two of them, masculine and speaking low words that were a mere buzz. My head throbbed as I tried to work up enough saliva to swallow. Everything was hot. It felt like I was dying. But I couldn't die. I forced my eyes open and through the haze saw two people leaning over me. Hey, I wonder who this guy is! A broken, disordered series of images flashed through my mind. The car, the explosion, gunshots, a strange man with odd eyes. It wasn't a dream. The realization hit me and I let out an undignified shriek as I bolted upright. Where was I? I didn't know these people. In the back of my mind, I did think one was vaguely familiar, but the most prominent was a feeling of terror. I acted on instinct. The men jumped back, but I was already launching myself up and off the bed. Saw blurry-headed blonde hair try to duck away, but not before my elbow connected with it. Nope, totally don't know that man. Interestingly, without a Thanos snap, they get kudos for restraint, if nothing else, right? But yeah, you can have run into Magnus beforehand, and Kesa. Though, of course, you don't know them by those names when you meet them. Magnus! He and I hit the ground at the same time, but I didn't stop. The other man came around the end of the bed, but I scrambled away. Have to get home. I burst through the door into a hall, my bare feet slapping against the tiled floor. Hey, this looks familiar. From the hospital. Everything hurt, but I still ran. The people in the hall were blurs and colored blobs as I sprinted past. A few of them reached for me, but I shouted and staggered away from them. One was a blonde doctor who was just seconds too late to grab me. So I know that that's you, because I've actually played through this before and picked the each of the different romance options. Where was I going? I didn't know. Outside, I hoped. I rounded a corner, almost toppling as I tried to make the sharp turn. My fingers brushed the floor as I steadied myself and continued to flee. Behind me, people were following. I ran past rows of chairs, stopping to pull some out and into the path. Why couldn't I find an exit? My head hurt so much. Spots swam in and out of my vision. Every memory and thought felt disconnected, discordant. There was only the vision of fractured rainbow light and the sound of everything crumbling around me. Bolted past door after door until I thought I would vomit. It was a maze with no way out. I turned down another corridor, confronted with a blurry dead end ahead. The voices behind me drew closer, so I veered into a room on my right and slammed my hand on a control panel to shut the door before shoving a bed across it. I made sure it was wedged against the inner lip so the door couldn't slide open easily. No windows, no way out. I backed against the far wall, using it to lean against as I stared at the now blocked exit. Where had they taken me? Who had taken me? Someone tried to open the door. The bed made a horrific scrape as I pushed it back slightly. I grabbed a glass jar with swabs from a nearby counter and hurled it at the door. It shattered, and whoever was trying to come inside jerked the door back shut. Voices spoke right outside, one angry and one amused. I gripped my skull and slid down the wall with a soft groan. The voices argued, and I let my head drop against my knees. I remembered the rainbow room, the woman shooting at us, a man with strange eyes. But not much more. How long had I been unconscious, and where was I now? Someone tried to open the door again, and I struggled to my feet to respond with another glass jar. Stay away! There was a few moments of silence. The door opened a few centimeters. We're not going to hurt you. I said stay away! I added another glass jar, just in case. Out of curiosity, what will you do once you run out of jars? Pretty sure it's Magnus who says that. I responded by throwing the one in my hand. The door slammed shut. This time I heard laughter. Ugh. I hit the floor again, straining to hear what was being said outside over the roar of blood in my ears. I was so hot, dizzy. My heart felt like it was about to explode. What should I do now? So, how long do you think this standoff will last? The man with the amused-sounding voice. She shouldn't be out of bed, awake or not, much less tearing through the hall, screaming and throwing things. It's a wonder she can even move. At the last check, she was still running a high fever, and her blood pressure was very nearly at the level of hypertensive crisis. That was a different voice, one I hadn't heard before. What were you fools doing that she slipped past you anyway? Well, she woke up pretty damn suddenly. We weren't expecting her to bolt up and knock one of us out. She broke my glasses, too. Yeah, I can understand being annoyed, but especially this part, she doesn't remember the agreeing to go with them. So now there are at least 3 people, the grumpy voice, the amused voice, and someone else. You imbeciles, we need to get her out of there. At the moment she seems intent on throwing something at anyone who opens the door. Am I supposed to believe that is enough to stop you lot of monsters? A 4th voice broke in there. If we startled her too much, she couldn't keep up anymore. I shut my eyes, so it didn't stop the feeling of everything spinning like crazy. The voices faded to a dull murmur. After some time, I had a vague awareness of the door opening again. I scowled and jerked my head up. The movement set my vision reeling, and I had to brace myself against a nearby cabinet to stay upright. The figures silhouetted in the door. They were familiar. It was, and this is where you pick. So I'm going to say so we can watch several of these. The grumpy kidnapper, the tall kidnapper, the blonde guy from before, the doctor from the hallway. Let's go with the grumpy kidnapper. He stood there without speaking, just looking my way. I couldn't see his expression well, but I suspected I was being glared at. What was his name again? Kidnapper. I tried to get to my feet, though I wasn't sure what I intended to do once I did. I wasn't having much luck, though. It's Caleb, actually. But given the state you're in, maybe I should just be grateful you remember me at all. He came towards me, and to my surprise, helped me stand. I wanted to push him away, but I just leaned on him and wished everything would stop spinning. I remember you kidnapped me. I doubted that had much bite, considering I was practically hugging him to stay on my feet. As much as I would love to have yet another argument with you about that, now isn't the time. You need to come with me back to your room. Hell no. Then what do you intend to do exactly? You're barely standing. Your fever's through the roof. Side fatigue can kill, I hope you realize. It's your fault. As wonderfully well expressed as that sentiment was. He sighed and helped me to the bed that still half blocked the door. I leaned against it, very tempted to just lie down. Do you even remember where you are, Dahlia, or that you volunteered to come here? I gave him a suspicious look when he said that. We'll be like the grumpy guy the moment she wakes up. Yep. Volunteered? You're at Cor Solaris, the headquarters of Endgame. Wait, Endgame? A vague memory stirred. I was in an alley with the other man, with Ari. There was a woman in white. I'm not sure. My head hurts so much. Caleb brushed my hair out of my eyes in a gesture that struck me as oddly gentle. We're not going to hurt you. That was never the plan. I don't feel well. He sighed and without another word lifted me into his arms. I made a feeble protest as he kicked the bed away from the door, then kicked the door all the way open. Too loud. He muttered a gruff apology as he carried me into the hall. Several others waited outside, but I shut my eyes against the side of them and decided maybe I'd just have a nap. They started to sit beside us, but when one of them tried to speak, Caleb cut him off. I don't think she's up for conversation, so knock it off, Doc. Why are you being so nice to me? You were so rude before. Carried me so gently, making others leave me alone? You definitely hadn't been this thoughtful before. Yes, you! Grumpy, rude kidnapper. One of the other men snorted rather loudly before breaking into laughter. Shut the hell up, Magnus, or I'll be the one elbowing you in the head this time. That's more like the Caleb I remember. You shut up too. Just go to sleep. You go to sleep. I mumbled it half-heartedly into his shoulder, even though it didn't make sense. At this point, nothing else did either. The slow swaying of his body as he walked bowled me most of the way back to sleep. I was only somewhat aware of when he finally laid me on a bed. Vaguely aware of cool fingers sweeping my hair from my forehead again. And a soft word muttered to me before his footsteps retreated. I was pretty sure he'd just called me an idiot, but I was too tired to respond. Just laid there, let myself drift off to sleep. Okay, and just for funsies, let's start the Magnus route. The man stood in the doorway briefly before stepping into the room. Couldn't see him clearly, but I was sure it was the blonde man from earlier, the one I'd hit in the head. Wish that line worked on my kids? Yeah. Why did he seem familiar? Hello, little queen. They tell me your name is Dahlia. So stay away from me. Sorry, that would be a problem, since I have to talk you into returning to your room. I struggled to my feet, keeping my back against the wall. Are you sure you want to do that? You look very much like you're about to pass out. Who are you? Oh, I completely forgot. I'm Magnus Ulrich. You might say I'm the leader of Endgame. Endgame? Wait. I faltered as a vague memory filtered back to me. An alley, a woman in white, a man named Ari. Remembering now? You chose to come here with our agents. He was close enough now that I could see his features through the haze. The blonde hair, the smug little smile. He stretched a hand out and I reacted instinctively. No! I pushed off the wall and launched myself at him, staggered backwards, blocking my arm. I knew there wasn't much strength behind the attack. I just wanted to get past him, get out. I needed to go home. He caught my arm and stepped back. Now, I'm not... He let out a surprising yell as something rolled away from us. Then he went sprawling, dragging me down with him. I landed against him with a painful thump and didn't move. Ugh. Everything spun around me. I was hot and nauseous and in pain. Magnus shifted beneath me. Hello? I tried to push myself up on shaking arms to glare at him. Please, I need to go home. I'm afraid that's not possible. You very much agreed to come here yesterday. His expression softened. You really don't remember it, do you? I don't know. My head hurts. My arms gave out again and I just let myself fall back onto his chest. He slid an arm around me, stroking my hair. I'm sure this is all frightening for you. The amusement was gone from his voice as he whispered to me. You're still very ill. When you're better, I can explain everything. I don't want to be here. I know. After a few moments, he shifted out from under me, holding me so I didn't fall. What are you... Before I could finish, he lifted me very carefully into his arms. We need to get you back to your room, but I'll stay by you. If you wake up and don't remember where you are, I'll explain it all to you once more. However many times it takes, even if you hit me again. I didn't know what he was talking about. His voice sounded far away and faint, but soothing, and I let it lull me into blissful sleep. I was somewhat aware that he took me into the hall and spoke to other people there. I was somewhat aware of being carried back to my room. But along the way, I completely blacked out, and after that, I wasn't sure how long I slept. Through it all, I imagined a gentle hand holding mine, and a very soft voice talking to me and telling me I'd be okay. Okay. That's it. The other routes I will let people explore on their own. Oh, I don't even have any CTs of Lance. I haven't even run into him. I think I'd have to do one of the other options. When you have that decision whether to go with Jack or with Ari and Caleb, or you panic and end up going to Reuben, there's a fourth option. I think that's the one that leads to Lance. And of course, there was a separate option that led you to Quill. Oh yeah, I did start the Magnus one. He's so pretty. I love his hair. It's so beautiful. Yeah, this is from when you picked you. Yeah, so thank you everyone for joining me. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like, share, comment, subscribe. I was looking at my list of videos that I've uploaded on YouTube, and the Gilded Shadows videos have a lot of hits, so I was really surprised by that. This will go up probably Tuesday, as long as I remember soon enough. I usually have been lately. Oh! I just noticed Reuben's picture is in color, so do all of the pictures change once you've done their routes? That's pretty cool. A nice incentive to play them all. But yeah, doing one route has just made me curious about the other routes. So yeah, take care everyone, have a good weekend, or week, or whenever you're watching this, and see you next time. Bye!